Ward 2 went to the concept of open doors for family in Whaanau about a year ago now. That was primarily as a result of my arriving on the ward and my belief that it is important for patients' recovery to actually have their family whānau around, as well as my belief that it's important for family and whānau to understand what is happening in the ward and what is likely to be needed when the patient goes home. There was some resistance from staff during the introduction of this. The main concerns raised were that we would be inundated with visitors, that ward rounds and the primary activities that sort of happen in the morning would be interrupted by family and whānau. Also the concern that they would all want to stay overnight. The reality is that yes, we have more visitors now in the morning, but those visitors tend to be with their family. So the patient and their family are together, they don't tend to crowd the wards. And overnight, there are very few people that have actually chosen to stay. When they want to, they're allowed to. But the concerns of staff with regards to overcrowding and the increased work of having family there just really haven't happened. I think generally my staff do support the whole family and whānau presence. There are still people that are working on that, being comfortable with that. As I say, occasionally they get intimidated by family, they feel intimidated, whereas the family don't feel that they're being intimidated. But the reality is most of the staff see it as business as usual now and really don't notice the difference. In terms of changes, primarily the changes that we've done, other than basically opening our doors to the family, are that we've had to think a little bit more laterally around how we can accommodate the family and whānau within our ward setting. Obviously the wards are set up in a specific style and it's not particularly conducive to having more members of the family in the ward. There are double rooms, there is limited space for people to stay overnight. When patients and family do need a bit more space, we have to accommodate that in a more creative way. So we need to utilise the bed spaces by the windows more for family that want to stay overnight. We need to do shuffling of patients to make sure that can happen. We've used our whānau room for family who have had more members, and it may be as a temporary process so that in a crisis or post-arrival situation more people can actually come and visit and be with the person, and once they've got that early process over, then they tend to dissipate and we go back to our normal functioning. There have been a few patients who have been concerned about the family or whānau being present in the room, primarily when generally it's been with women being with a husband in a shared female room. If they're concerned, again, that comes back to our flexibility and our ability to shuffle people around and discuss with them. Otherwise, we've offered the same for them so that they can have their partner present, and made sure that they're aware that that's allowable too. Generally, people, if you actually say before it happens, have a little bit of time to think about it, and they're generally quite happy to do it. The occasional situation where they've been uncomfortable, it's not been very much of a hassle to actually change the patient around. I think in terms of engaging with family and whānau, the nurses are still developing their confidence. Some nurses have very much picked up and are able to utilise the group dynamic and work out who are the key speakers, who they need to engage with most to actually work with the family. Other nurses are still developing that. There is definitely some staff do find it difficult to actually deal with a large number of people. Having said that, it is very rare that we have a large number of people. As I say, it tends to be a situational component to that. So when they first arrive, when a crisis happens on the ward, then you may get a large number. Most of the time, there's actually no more than 2. The reaction of family in Whaanau to this offer of having an open door for them is very positive. They are often surprised. They're very used to the concept of a 2 to 8 visiting time, so they're quite shocked that they're actually allowed to stay. Frequently they will suggest that they will stay, and then after the first night, or the first afternoon where they've been there for a while, they will actually decide that they're comfortable and the patient's comfortable to go home. So they engage in that settling down period often, and then choose to step back a little bit, come back often for the ward rounds, but they actually are very positive that they can be there to hear what is happening and to be involved in decision making. Most of the patients that I've talked to about having their whānau around, they've been very appreciative. They've felt more settled, and as I say, often it's in that first few hours, the first day, where it's an unfamiliar setting, they're not sure what's happening, they're a little bit scared that comes through, and that they're most in need of support. But they're appreciative of the fact that they can actually have people there when they need it.